Hi everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. My name's Mrs. B and you've come to the Artlife YouTube channel. Stay tuned because today I'm going to teach you how to do some painting skills. Firstly, we're going to have a look at different details in certain fruits. I'm going to teach you some mixing skills and some colour theory, which is really important for understanding how colours work together, how they mix together, and how you can create every colour under the rainbow. We're then going to use those rainbow colours to create a series of 4 fruits. And today we'll create a beautiful composition where the fruits join together to create a wonderful composition of 4 different fruits that join up like a jigsaw. And we'll also learn about complementary or contrasting colours and delve deeper into colour theory and how colours work together. So come with me and I'll show you how right now. For this painting task today, the main and probably most obvious material you'll need is some acrylic paint. Now, you could go out and purchase every colour under the sun. However, to save you money and to save you time, I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful artwork using just the primary colours and black and white. So I'm going to show you all the techniques for mixing all the colours that you'll need using these 5 tubes of paint. So you don't need to go out and buy the individual colours. If you need something like this, they do come in a handy little pack from Zart. In the description below, I've placed a link there in case you'd like to get some. Also, you need a grey lead pencil to draw in some details and some paper or canvases. And I'm doing 4 fruits today, so you'll need either 4 pieces of paper or 4 small canvases to paint on. Let's get started. The aim of today's task is to create one big circular artwork. But we're doing 4 separate fruits. So we're doing a quarter of each of the fruits, and when we display it, it'll come together to look like one big circle. So what we need to do to create that circle and make it nice and even is I'm attaching a piece of string here just to my grey lead pencil, and I've positioned all my pieces of paper so that they sort of sit nicely together like that. All right, and what I want is a nice even circle that goes right to the edge of each of my pieces of paper. So I've connected a piece of string here. I'm holding my pencil nice and tight and in position where I want it to go. Can you see how I've done that there for this particular piece of paper? I need to do the same thing for this piece of paper. Just gets a nice clean edge. You need to hold the string quite tight so you can see that my string's really straight there and it gives us a nice clean circle. I'm doing that with all of my pieces, holding it on the corner. If you don't hold it tight, you will get a really wobbly sort of line. But when you're done, you should see a circle all the way around, just like that. All right, so we can now work with these individually. I'm just going to paint this section here. I'm actually going to cut the paper as well. We are ready to set up for painting. So looking at this photo, this is just an example of some cross sections of some fruit that you might choose to reproduce. I'm obviously just going to choose 4 and I'm going to just show sort of a quarter of each of them. So I'm just starting one at a time. I've put some paper underneath as to not dirty my table. And as I said before, we only need these 5 paints and I'm going to show you how to mix them. Now I'm going to start with a watermelon because it's such a bright and beautiful option. Now obviously watermelon rind is green and the inside is pink, so I don't have any of these colours here, so I need to mix them. So I'm going to start with my rind here. What I need some yellow and I need a little bit of blue. And I'm going to grab some white as well. pink, we need a little dash of red. I'm going to add a little tiny bit of yellow because I want my rind to be sort of a peachy pink. And then we need quite a bit of white. Wonderful. So let's see what happens when we mix. Just mix a small amount to start off with until you get your desired colour. There's lots of different shades of green that you can create. If you add more yellow, you're going to get more of a limey green like this. If you add more blue, you're going to end up with more of a turquoise like that. So I like to have a nice depth of colour, which means not just mixing one colour. So I've got both of my greens here that I'm going to work with. It's important to make this edge really crisp and neat, using that line that we created as a guide for the edge. Now while it's wet, I'm going to get in with that sort of limey green. And make my rind nice and thick. When paint is wet, you can even just add in straight yellow like this. When paint is wet, the colours blend and you're giving that a more dynamic sort of colour scheme if you're adding sort of extra colour as you go through. So I want this to stay wet as well again, and I'm going to add some white. So I'm working fairly quickly but carefully, and I'm just using this sort of rounded edge to guide me. I just want a layer of white and wanting it to blend with my green as well. Now I'm going to do the pink part of the watermelon, and I need to make my pink first. I've got a little tiny bit of red here. I'm going to mix in my white. As I said, just grab a small amount until you get sort of the desired colour. A little touch of that yellow will give it more of a peachy look. The more yellow you add, the more orange it will become. But I'm quite happy with that colour, but as always I like to add a depth of colour, so I'm going to make a bit of a pinkier, darker pink there, and I'll start with it. Notice when I'm painting, I'm sort of using that arch to guide me in the direction of how I want to paint today. Notice I'm even adding in just some straight red. If you add water to your paint, it will make it thinner and smoother to paint with. And I'm making the colour get lighter and lighter as I get closer to the rind. You want to get all these gaps though. Okay, now that I'm up to my rind, I'm now going to paint with white. Just sort of attach these two colours together. Like that. Alright, so I'm happy with that as my base coat for my watermelon. I will add the seeds a little bit later and also add a colour for the background once it dries. So we'll leave that and start with our next piece of fruit. Alright, what we're going to do now is a kiwi. So I've already got some green here. Wash my brush really well. Now the kiwi fruit often has a darker green edge, kind of like the watermelon. So I'm going to use this green I've already made to start with my edge. It's just a thin, dark line. It's not as thick as the watermelon rind. You may even choose to do a really small brown edge as well for the skin, but I'm just going to do the green today. Make that edge as neat as you possibly can. And for the inside, we want quite a limey green. So I'm going to make a lime green with my yellow and blue here. And I'm also going to use some of the white to make it a bit lighter. Okay. I'm going to start with this lime green. And we're going to go to about there because it has sort of a cream inner circle. So we don't want to paint the entire thing. Now I know as well the kiwi fruit has sort of black lines coming out like that, but that will be the next layer. They're the details that we will do once our background has dried. Now this inner part is a cream, so I'm just going to add the teeniest bit of yellow to a lot of white here. That's all we need for the kiwi at this stage. We're going to let him dry as well. For this one, I'm going to have a go at doing a lemon. So I mostly need yellow, but I also need quite a bit of my white here to add some depth of colour. And I'm also going to use some red to create a small amount of orange that are going to help me with those extra tones as well. So orange is made from yellow and red. Adding some white to it to make it lighter. I'm going to use this peachy colour as my sort of outer skin colour. Now a layer of the yellow. So any citrus sort of fruit, I suppose, has almost like wedges that come out at like triangles to the middle of the fruit. So if this corner is the middle of the fruit, you have to imagine the wedges kind of come into a point here. So you might just want to do what I've just done there and give yourself an idea of where the wedges are going to be. And the wedge part is sort of the lightest part here. So I am going to use a creamy white for that section. For the inside, I'm going to use my yellow. But we're not just going to leave it flat. Citrus sort of has little beads or pops of different colours that act in a line sort of motion. So it's details we can't really do later. We actually sort of need to do it while we're doing this background colour. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm painting the wedge all in yellow. Like that. Now I'm just going to add little details with my white. You might even choose to do little details with some orange too. And the reason we're doing that now is so that it kind of blends in with our yellow. It won't blend if we let it dry. You can go back and do some more later, but for now I'm just sort of playing with this sort of liney motion. think that's our lemon done. What do you think? All right, lucky last guy. I was thinking for this one to do a cantaloupe or a rock melon. So I am needing that peachy orange once again. So I'm going to use the red I already have, add some yellow to it. I really hope you're sort of learning about colour theory as we're doing this, learning how to mix the colours. And it's a really important part of painting because it helps you not just to use whatever colours come out of the tube, you can make your own colours, which means you can add more depth of colour like I've been talking about. You can make a darker version over here. And the more you practice, I promise you, the better you'll get, the more you'll understand how colours combine, and you'll be able to do it really easily. The first thing I do need though is a layer of green for the outside. Still got a little bit here that I can use. This is fairly advanced colour mixing, so I'm not just showing you sort of how primary colours combine to create secondary colours. I'm sort of showing you how to create different tones using white. I'm showing you how to create different depths of colour, like tertiary colours, the next level of colour. So if you're feeling a little bit confused or like this might be a little bit too advanced, try to take it back to basics and just have a go at using your primary colours to create secondary colours, that being orange and green. Don't worry too much about adding different tones. All right, I want a fairly light orange layer here. And the middle of a cantaloupe has some seeds that are almost like a star shape. They go like this. Almost like an M in the corner there. Can you see that? So if you just give yourself an idea where that's going to be, the rest can just be painted, and then we'll get to that in a minute. We'll paint the seeds later, but we'll just sort of fill that in a creamy kind of white for now. Beautiful. So we have our 4 fruits. But we're going to let those completely dry for now, and then we'll come back and paint some of the details like the seeds of the watermelon, the seeds of the cantaloupe here, and those black lines. You will need a smaller brush for the details, and we'll do that soon. We're also going to have a chat about what colours we could do in the backgrounds. For the details, I've just got a bit of black paint here. You might need some white as well. I don't want it to be completely jet black. It might just be too contrasting with our colours here. So I'm just mixing in the teensiest bit of white to make it more of a charcoal colour. And I'm just going to do some seeds, which they're not circles, they're more like lines like this, almost like a teardrop. You don't need to overthink it, just pop them in spots that you think might make sense. You can do it in a sort of detailed, neat design, or you can be more random with it. I'm just using my brush here to really carefully add my details, spread them out in some sections. But whenever I'm sort of painting, I'm thinking that pointing them toward this corner here, that's sort of the center or the focal point of our entire artwork. So it makes a lot more sense if they all point toward that center mark there. There, I'm happy with that. Now the kiwi fruits details are probably the trickiest of all. I'm going to use this charcoal once again, but this time the lines are really thin at the start and they come and get a little bit thicker, but then they stop at this sort of cream circle here. Thin, 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 and get a little bit thicker like that. There. Alright, so I need this darker peach again for the seeds of the cantaloupe. And I'm painting in, they're almost like inner diamond shapes that the seeds then go inside. It's amazing how a piece of fruit can be so detailed. I am working from a photo, guys, so it will help you, I think, to have a photo of what you're trying to paint in front of you. This isn't from memory that I'm doing, so please don't expect that you know, you're able to do this just from what you think it might look like. It is helpful sometimes to have a photograph of, just for reference in front of you to help you. So now the seeds can sort of go inside. Wonderful. So we've done details. Hope you're happy with your artwork thus far. And it's coming together. Now, we do have areas here that need painting behind what we've done. And what I'd like to do today, and what I'd like to teach you about today, is using a complementary or a contrasting colour to really accentuate the colour. So what I mean by that is, if I am, say, painting this one here with my lemon, it is a yellow. So I'm going to use the contrasting colour of yellow to paint the background so that the yellow stands out and pops out. Now, if you have a look at this image here, you'll see a colour wheel. Notice the colours. Now, a complementary colour is the colour that is opposite each other on the colour wheel. So can you see the colour that is opposite yellow on the colour wheel? That's right, it's purple. So pop artists and other artists often use complementary colours or contrasting colours to help colours to stand out from one another. Because they're opposite to each other, they're very different in colour, and that way our lemon will really stand out with a purple background. So I'm going to use purple for the lemon. For the green, can you see what the colour would be? It's going to be red. For orange, it would be blue. And well, pink isn't on the colour wheel, but red is. So we're going to use a green here. Now, what I need to be careful with is I'm using green as my complementary colour to red or pink, but I also have green in my watermelon here. So I do need to come up with a colour that is different enough that it stands out from my background. When I'm painting, I am painting in that arched kind of motion again, just to keep it nice and neat. Going right to the edges. Now, when I come up close to my design here, this is when I need to be extremely careful. I don't want to paint over the top of what I've done, but I need to keep that line nice and crisp. Try to work with a nice steady hand. Now for my yellow lemon, I need to add some red to my blue here, and that will create purple. Purple is definitely the hardest secondary colour to make. You can see quite a dark purple is created if you just mix straight from the tube, so I'm going to add a little bit of white too. Can you see how the yellow really stands out against the purple? All done. So it's as simple as that. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and I really hope you've learned a little bit about colour theory, colour mixing, and how to create a really beautiful artwork that you're proud of. Please make sure you check out all my other videos. There's lots of other painting tutorials that you can delve into, and feel free to tag me at Artlife Art Lessons on Facebook to show me what you've been doing at home. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video today, and make sure you subscribe below for future videos. Thanks very much for joining me. I'll catch you next time.